What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about why Tim Hortons is unpopular in the United States. I don't get it. Or as this video title puts it, why Tim Hortons really struggles in the US. You know, from what I've learned about Tim Hortons, sounds great. Sounds like something Americans would really love. You got your double-double. You got your Timbits, the place seems nice. I reacted to a video a little while ago about the history of Tim Hortons. The inside looks cool. The place seems good. Everything's adding up. You got the little donuts and all that. So I even heard in one video that there are Tim Hortons in parts of America. I didn't know that. I've never seen one. Never been to a Tim Hortons. But I still don't really get why it wouldn't do good in America, especially if the effort was put in to put some in America at some point, right? Anyway, I found this little video here. I think it's by CNBC, so an American news agency, did a little video on why Tim Hortons really struggles in the United States, and that just seemed very interesting to me. In particular, me. I want to know. I want to get to the bottom of this. Maybe it's interesting for Canadians to learn about this as well. Why no Tim Hortons in America? Why? Tell me.
You know that old joke that there's a Starbucks on every corner in the United States?
Not so much a joke as reality. Is this there's a Tim Hortons on every corner of Canada? Is that the comparison?
And that Dunkin' Donuts slogan, America runs on Dunkin'?
Ah.
Well, there's a Canadian coffee chain that makes those look like quaint little neighborhood cafes. Meet Tim Hortons, Canada's one-stop shop for coffee, breakfast, lunch, and donuts.
And donuts. Hold on. I like this little shot here. Look at this. Oh, the Oreo donut? The Oreo iced cappuccino? This is not the point of this video, but I'm sorry. Coffee, donuts, espresso, sandwiches, latte, bagels, smoothies. I didn't know there was so much. And the place looks nice. And it's a drive-through, or you can go in. Wow. Okay. Okay. That's not the point of this video. Yeah, this is related. Never mind. It looks so nice and cool, and it's got stuff. Yet, not popular in America.
In 2018, it supplied over 60% of the revenue of its parent company, Restaurant Brands International.
Oh, okay.
Which also owns Burger King and Popeyes.
Oh. Wait. Hold on. Back to the chart. Stop right there. Burger King and Popeyes, according to this chart, do worse, significantly worse than Tim Hortons' revenue. So, further proof that the Tim Hortons entity is good. It's good. I don't understand.
More importantly, it's been a company darling among Canadians.
Yes.
The DNA of the brand is Canadiana. It's hockey. It's, we're polite. It's all the stereotypes that Canadians, love that they have. It's every bit as Canadian, and even more so than Coca-Cola is American.
Whoa.
In 2015, the last year that Tim Hortons made its store count publicly available, there was one Tim Hortons location for every 9,800 Canadians.
Wow.
These are the same figures for Dunkin' and Starbucks in the United States.
Okay, I'm glad they did this, because I wasn't actually sure if I was supposed to be impressed or not. There are vastly more Tim Hortons for every Canadian citizen than there are for a Dunkin' Donuts for Americans or Starbucks for Americans. There's 4 times more Tim Hortons. It is a powerful institution.
But this success is quickly becoming a problem.
They have definitely reached a saturation point within Canada.
The company needs to expand elsewhere, and the U.S. has long been a target.
Yeah.
But they've struggled here for decades, which raises the question, why can't this Canadian icon win over its southern neighbors?
Yeah. Do I have any guesses? Predictions? Is it because Americans just want Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks? And Tim Hortons isn't unique enough of a difference? But it has sandwiches and smoothies and Oreo lattes or whatever it was. I think there's enough of a difference. What is it? Is it just too Canadian that Americans are like scared? they just run away. They're like, what's going on here? This isn't Dunkin'. Yes, why does it struggle?
The first ever Tim Hortons opened in 1964, right here. And the first successful location in the U.S. opened just across this border 20 years later.
Oh,
A few years earlier, Tim Hortons opened 2 locations in these 2 Florida beach towns.
really? That's kind of random. In Florida? Why Florida? So far away. Like, literally one of the furthest points away from Canada in the U.S.
Hoping that vacationing Canadians would both support the business and bring in Americans.
Oh.
But these
Oh, do Canadians like to vacation to Florida? Like Americans like to vacation to Florida? I get it.
Canadians would both support the business and bring in Americans. But these struggled because of production issues and because Floridians lacked the brand awareness that Americans closer to the Canadian border have.
Yeah.
Bottom line is this: the closer the geographical proximity of an American city to the Canadian border, the better off Tim Hortons does.
Yeah. Making them in Florida, that was ambitious. That was very ambitious. But I guess there was a chance it just took off and exploded. But no one really, most Americans have never really heard of Tim Hortons. I can say that for sure. They drive by and think it was like a mom and pop shop, like one exists or something. No brand awareness. Okay.
Both of the Florida Tims closed in 1995, and the brand has stuck close to the border ever since.
Okay.
The company expanded rapidly across these states using a franchise model in the 1990s and listed on the U.S. stock market in 2006.
Really?
Tim Hortons kind of just jumped into the franchise, opened up a couple hundred stores in the U.S. fairly quickly.
See, I didn't even know that there were hundreds. I assume some of them have shut down at this point. Hundreds of Tim Hortons in the United States. Like, no one knows that. Obviously, if you live closer to the border, apparently there's a section of Americans who do know about this. They just never told me. No one ever told me. What's wrong with you Americans? You could have spread the word.
Using data from their subsequent public filings, we can see that 98% of Tim's locations in the U.S. were in just these 8 states.
Okay.
Why? It's
Really? I lived in Pennsylvania at one point. There were Tim Hortons there. I just never saw them. I guess it just kind of depends on how lucky you get.
both recognition and recall. The closer you are,
8 states.
why? It's both recognition and recall. The closer you are to the Canadian border, the theory would say that you are going to be more likely to cross the Canadian border for a weekend shopping. There's a Tim
Right.
Hortons on every block. It's not bad stuff. They like it. Go back across the border, and if Tim Hortons is there, they'll more likely be a consumer.
But
Huh. I'm starting to get it. That is a bit of a stretch in my imagination. Americans, sure, if you live by the border, you're going to go into Canada, do fun stuff. Maybe hop into a Timmy's, as you might say. Might hop into a Timmy's, enjoy it. But then you're going to go back home to America, see a Tim Hortons, and start going there. Maybe. Or maybe you're just going to go to your favorite American place, too. So it's already a stretch. And you need Americans that have done that entire process of going to Canada, liking the Tim Hortons, and coming back to enjoy it in America. That whole thing has to transpire for every individual. Unless they're like bragging to their friends about it, which apparently they're not.
even these border states couldn't cushion Tim Hortons against their biggest problem in the U.S.
What?
Market saturation.
If you're the 15th company that's entering an American market offering coffee and donuts, you're so far back in
Yep. Oh, this is a good list. Hold on.
donuts. You're so
This is perfect. This was kind of my guess at the beginning, right? Man, I'm a genius, a Tim Hortons historian. Brilliant prediction. No, but there's a lot of places in America that sell coffee and donuts and stuff. I didn't even remember. I was just talking about Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts, McDonald's, Subway, Wendy's, Burger King, Taco Bell, Chick-fil-A, Pizza Hut, Domino's. Yeah, there's a lot of places that sell coffee. That's the big thing.
So far back in terms of mind share, and Tim Hortons does not have huge dollars in comparison to some of the other competitors or the entrenched regional players that may be there, or national players.
Yeah.
Like Starbucks, for example.
Anyone can name their nearest Starbucks or maybe their nearest Dunkin' Donuts. So in the US, it's facing a lot of competition.
For Canadians, Tim Hortons is a go-to spot for many food items. Hot and cold coffee drinks, breakfast sandwiches, lunch wraps and soups, fruit smoothies, and of course, donuts.
Yeah. Okay. Plus, there's like places around town, like mom and pop shops that have donuts. You can get the breakfast sandwiches at McDonald's. A lot of people do. You can get wraps and stuff at Taco Bell. Yeah, this is making sense. Americans are just set in our little ways. Poor Tim Hortons. Man.
But Americans have many other options. Dunkin' and Starbucks, of course. But also Panera Bread, Jamba Juice, McDonald's, or one of the other estimated 58,000 coffee and snack shops in the U.S.
Yeah.
And these all have far better brand recognition among Americans.
Right.
Humans are creatures of habit. If you have an option between a Starbucks, Dunkin' Donuts, and a Tim Hortons, you're probably going to go to Dunkin' Donuts because you know that product, you know what your order is, it's familiar.
Yeah. I mean, this also makes me wonder, what's like the second most popular place? Is Tim Hortons number one, de facto number one, coffee and donuts in Canada? And if so, what's number two and number three? Starbucks? Then under that, what is it? Maybe McDonald's, maybe it's not even that deep, just like obvious.
In 2010, Tim Hortons closed 36 locations throughout New England after their poor performance cost the business $4.4 million that year.
No.
This included a complete retreat from Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts.
Oh boy.
Burger King bought Tim Hortons in 2014 for $11 billion.
Really?
And the combined company, Restaurant Brands International, established its headquarters in Toronto. Analysts told CNBC as part of the agreement to locate the company in Canada, the Tim Hortons segment promised to continue expanding in the U.S.
They had to prove that they were going to expand internationally, especially into the U.S. And
what? So they did this deal. Burger King bought American Tim Hortons and had to expand it, even though it was clearly not popular. And clearly no amazing advertising campaign ever happened, because I feel like I'd be aware of it as an American if a successful American campaign had ever happened. So did it just fail utterly from here?
And get the brand to grow further and not just be concentrated and saturated within Canada.
But in 2015, the very next year...
Wait a minute. Hold on. Hold the phone. Bring this shot back up. No, not you. This. 10 Timbits for $1? Wow. And this wasn't popular in America. Go figure. 10 donut. Look at those things. Everyone's got sprinkles, chocolate. For $1. I don't get where this went wrong.
2015, the very next year, RBI closed 234 locations in the U.S.,
Wow.
telling CNBC in an emailed statement that the closures were part of building a foundation for future growth in the United States.
This closing 200 locations in America is the foundation for growing the business in America? What? They're not fooling anyone.
Starting in 2016, they've stopped breaking out the Tim Hortons growth specifically in the U.S. as focused, just because of the heat they've been getting in terms of performance of Tim Hortons in the United States.
Yeah.
RBI did not respond to CNBC's request for comments or an interview. So no word on exactly what their plan is.
Yeah.
But analysts point to a few trends or strategies the brand could use going forward.
Okay.
Like premium coffee and donut options or healthier breakfast sandwiches. RBI...
I mean, I don't think Tim Hortons, what they offer is the problem. Canadians love it, right? So it's obviously good stuff. I don't know if changing the food and coffee and the premiumness is going to do anything, to be honest. I mean, I'm just a typical average American, but that's my opinion.
RBI has been at the forefront of the plant-based meal trend, including Impossible Burgers at Burger King and Beyond Meat sausages at Tim Hortons in 2019.
Oh.
It also struck a deal in July 2019 to test Just brand plant-based eggs at some Canadian Tim Hortons locations.
Okay.
But some
the synthetic meat, really not catching on too much in America. Surprise, surprise.
think RBI is waiting too long to launch these items in the U.S.
Something they should consider doing is launching the products that they launch in Canada at the same time in the US, because it's not like they don't have the infrastructure.
And some wonder whether RBI should look beyond the U.S. altogether.
Outside of the US, Tim Hortons is growing quite popular, right? So
Yeah, there you go. There's an actual strategy, I think. I'm very sad to say, unless you get a whole bunch of Americans, like, educated about Tim Hortons, which is like, would be $1 trillion in advertising and marketing, and also you're trying to overtake the biggest coffee and donut institutions in America. It seems like a lost cause, as sad as it is. I mean, it's not the end of the world. It's kind of like makes Tim Hortons more special in my eyes. Like, you gotta go to Canada, basically, to get it, which is kind of cool and unique, like makes it more special. But maybe other places around the world have like a market that you could actually get into still?
they have introduced stores in Mexico. I think it's the Philippines they just started launching in as well. So anywhere where Starbucks and or Dunkin' hasn't completely taken over, I think might actually be a better fit for them.
I know the U.S. is the big gem for any company that wants to create an international brand or grow, biggest consumer market in the world, but it's also the most competitive, and that's a very tough market.
Okay, wow. So that was the answer, huh? It's just very competitive, especially with food in America. Americans like food, don't get me wrong, but we are creatures of habit. We like the food that we like. That's the way it is. I'll agree with that. This video was by CNBC, that's right. I liked it. This was really nice. It was actually nice to see like an American news agency actually take an interest in covering this kind of thing. That was really cool. Very informative. The mystery is finally solved for me. Finally. I've genuinely been wondering this. I wonder this about many cool Canadian things, to be perfectly honest. Poutine, for instance, doesn't exist in America. Doesn't make any sense. Americans would love it. Tim Hortons. I was really wondering, why? Why? And the answer is, it's not because Tim Hortons is bad, or anything like that. It's just because America is oversaturated with stuff. There's just too much stuff, and we like stuff. But if you're the 50th in America at doing that certain stuff, it makes it hard. So again, I'm not even terribly upset. I kind of like that it's a Canadian institution. It's kind of fun, in my opinion, so take it for what you will. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed this reaction, feel free to give it a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada, Canadian culture, stuff about Canada that I've never heard or learned about before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.